Welcome to Lawcracker. Kidulthood, adulthood and brotherhood are not going to be on iPlayer anymore. Producer, writer, director, actor, talented ex-BAFTA Noel Clarke is officially being labelled a pariah, depending, of course, on your definition of the word official. In case you haven't been following your news on the television set rather than your usual dose of Lawcracker, he has been accused in a newspaper article in The Guardian of bullying, sexual harassment, unwanted touching, and even videoing naked auditions. Now, it's very important to say that he has vehemently denied having ever committed any sexual offences or assaults. And that denial is included in the article too. But 20 women have told The Guardian that they were his victims. He's lost Lifetime Achievement Awards before they've been given, after they've been given, he's been suspended, cancelled, and it looks like whatever happens, Noel Clarke has lost his reputation. His latest show, which is apparently on TV every evening, prime time, is not going to have its finale. But as for Noel, he appears to have punched a one-way ticket to Kevin Spacey Town. But unlike Kev, he can't even look back and say, at least I played the bad guy with a moustache in a Richard Pryor movie. Check it out. Really good movie. Have we now reached the stage where the only effective justice for alleged sexual predators can be dispensed by the media alone? Or is this very public execution and dismantling of the reputation of a leading man and minority success story? Is it all happening without any of the safeguards of a trial in an unjust way that should make us feel pretty disturbed? Whose rights mean more? The accused or the accusers? Let's proceed with sensitivity and respect. It's law cracking time. Right, well, it's pretty heavy stuff, isn't it? A highly talented, celebrated writer, a hero of 21st century multicultural Britain, Noel Clarke has been accused on all sides of serious misconduct. A picture has been presented through these summarised allegations in The Guardian, some anonymous, some not, of a sexually aggressive, arrogant and bullying man using his power and position to both sexually harass and intimidate mostly women in the course of his work. Now, there are various allegations of unwanted touching, humiliating public taunting, showing sexually graphic photographs and videos, sharing pics. I can't believe that this topic has resulted in me having to say the words pic in a Lawcracker episode. Kill me, please. Bleep it out, please, Jamie. Cheers, mate. Well, there's also an allegation that Noel Clarke recorded naked auditions and showed them to other people. Let's continue. Now, the first thing to say is that as we are filming, there is no current criminal complaint that has been made by any of the accusers to the police, and that's out of 20 people. The Met Police have said in a statement on Wednesday, 21st of April, they did get a third-party report relating to allegations of sexual offences allegedly committed by a male over a period of time. Third-party report, not from a complainant. It's anonymous, it can't be acted on by the police. In fact, it can only be used to corroborate something else if there is a complaint. And at the time of filming, there is no active criminal complaint made by any of these complainants' self-titled victims. Now, the allegation of naked video sharing made by actress Johanna James, she says she reported that to the police at the time and it didn't go anywhere, and we'll consider that in a bit more detail in a little while. Noel Clarke, however, has responded, and he refutes in a 20-page document nearly every allegation and all of the serious ones. But he does say he's sorry if he's offended people and he's seeking help, etc., and he can improve, like all men can improve. But perhaps that's to muddy the waters of opinion. Perhaps, however, it's a genuine attempt to see where some of the non-criminal allegations are coming from and engage with it. Meanwhile, the axe has well and truly fallen on Noel Clarke. Awards taken away, shows cancelled, Groucho Club membership withdrawn, although he does apparently claim he never really wanted to be a member. That was funny. look it up. He's pretty much suspended from everything he was a member of, and whatever way you look at it, his career has either been ended or at least massively and possibly irreparably damaged, not by a public investigation or process, but by a private investigation by journalists. The witnesses haven't been cross-examined. We've not been able to assess their evidence except from what The Guardian has said. Now, The Guardian might say 20 people is a big number of people, and The Guardian is a respected news source. But is the number of people who have spoken to a journalist, is that our test in society for someone's reputation as an innocent person to be crushed? Now, these allegations may be true, or they may not. But as things stand, Noel Clarke has been branded a criminal, despite the fact that nobody's gone to the police. Does the law allow him a platform to contest that? And should he even have that right? Well, it's an interesting question. The first thing to consider is whether the things he's accused of, whether they're criminal offences in the first place. And the answer is actually, while a lot of them are, a lot of them really aren't. They're just things that we don't like. He's accused of humiliating someone by taking a photo of her underwear, which was showing when she did the splits. Now, it wasn't private, so that's not an offence. It causes offence to us, because only a scumbag would do that, right? But the criminal law doesn't punish all scumbags for being scumbags, only scumbags who break the law. He's also accused of saying massively inappropriate, often sexual things to people. Now, such statements to people could be criminal offences if it was a course of action repetitive under the Protection from Harassment Act, or even a less serious offence potentially under the Public Order Act, if a person is using insults, swear words, this kind of thing. But being a sexual sleaze or a bully on its own isn't usually enough to see you end up in court, because society allows free speech, even free speech which is considered obnoxious or sleazy, provided you don't do it a lot to the same person and it doesn't go beyond a certain barrier. But when it comes to touching somebody without their consent, straight away that gets into the category of something that might be considered assault, if it's true. Now, it's unlikely that somebody would be charged with an offence, though, unless there was more to it. And in these allegations, there is in fact more to it, because the majority of the allegations seem to come in the context of unwanted sexual advances. If unwanted touching anywhere on the body, doesn't have to be in a private place, it could be an offence under the Sexual Offences Act 2003 of a minor level up to a major level. It can be heard in the Magistrates Court or the Crown Court. And what about that showing of a video of a naked audition with an actress, her name I think was Johanna James? Well, she says she actually tried to go to the police at the time, but that they couldn't do anything unless she was threatened by him. There's a tweet about it, we'll show here. But then again, it's a tweet, and really drawing conclusions either way about her on the basis of a social media post is probably silly, probably about as silly as tweeting an allegation like that in the first place. But let's focus on what the law says. Were the police right if they decided that they couldn't proceed and they had no power to do anything about the naked video sharing? Well, actually, this is a bit of a grey area of law, which is slowly being redefined and improved by the Court of Appeal. The closest these facts probably come is the Court of Appeal case of 2020, in which a man who had sex with two prostitutes on separate occasions and videoed them without their permission was guilty of voyeurism. Now, voyeurism can only be if the person being videoed is in private activity at the time. And because he'd been invited there by them, he said it wasn't private. Now, the Court of Appeal kind of agreed with that part. He had been invited there, but not to secretly film them, and they said he was guilty. Here, the issue is whether somebody being openly filmed for professional reasons in a private situation, but that filming then being misused, shared, or kept for sexual kicks, makes the filming an offence of voyeurism. Now, they are quite specific facts, and they haven't been tested by the higher courts. The Law Commission, which recommends new laws, is actually currently reviewing the law in this area as recently as April. Conclusion as to the police saying they couldn't act? Probably it's inconclusive. Should they be blamed for it? Probably not. Lawcracker says that this is frustratingly a bit of a head scratcher. Now, if all of these allegations are true, some offences have been committed. But that is a big if right now. Nobody has gone to the police and proceeded with a complaint. That means that Mr. Clarke at the moment, he can't even answer the criminal allegations that have been made, even in a police interview, let alone in court. The Met Police says there's no investigation ongoing, and that is what we have definitively at the moment. Now, these are actually pretty unpopular observations to make at the moment, because the tide of public opinion is against Noel Clarke, and you can see why. The BAFTA committee initially took the view that he should get his Lifetime Achievement Award, despite the rumours, presumably on the basis that without proper investigations and proceedings, a person's reputation should be considered intact. And the only other notable media voice in favour of this man having due process comes from the most unlikely source, you may think, in the form of a former Big Brother contestant and a former law student, Rebecca Jane. In that great bastion of journalistic heroism, the Daily Express. The Express, for once, not complaining about Johnny Foreigner and predicting outbreaks of Alzheimer's and bad weather. Yawn. Now, Rebecca Jane says Clarke is a victim of cancel culture, and cancelling him without a criminal trial undermines trust in the UK's legal system. She says, as someone who is trained in law, I personally stand by the phrase innocent until proven guilty. It would appear in today's society, it's decided that we, the general public, are now judge, jury, and executioner. Now, I will never condone bullying, harassment, sexual harassment, or any form of inappropriate behaviour. But where I lose the train of thought is at the point where we believe that we have the right to cancel a person's career without knowing full facts or seeing evidence. We have a legal system in place for a reason, and we should trust in that until a time comes when a judge pronounces the words guilty or not guilty. Well, it's the jury, not the judge, who say those words, the foreman or forewoman of the jury, but you get the point, and it's a point probably pretty well made. Now, whether you agree with it or not, Mr. Clarke, however, is probably unlikely to get his day in a criminal court unless someone actually makes a complaint to the police. Now, maybe that's best for him, maybe not. We just don't know what happened until that process has taken place. So where does that leave us then? Mud has been thrown. Does it just stick, or is there a legal process available to Mr. Clarke to defend himself, or for others to find out for sure that he's a sexual predator, as it's been said, without any process that he is? Well, the answer is every lawyer's favourite word. Maybe. Well, maybe, and it depends. And not necessarily. They're probably the top three. Well, he can sue The Guardian for libel or defamation, and he may well do that. But libel or defamation, that's a risky business, because suing for defamation airs everything. All the allegations, they all get tested. If The Guardian justifies the main part of what they've been suggesting, Clarke will lose his case, or at least partially lose. And anything except an outright straight win on everything will just cement the falling of his reputation, not save him. But none of this is without precedent. Even when someone faces proceedings and wins, their life doesn't just go back to how it was. An example which some of the less sprightly of you lawcrackers may remember is that of a certain John Leslie. He presented hit youth television programme Blue Peter, ITV's This Morning, after Richard and Judy, but before Philip and Holly, and was even for some period of time the star of Lawcracker's personal favourite guilty pleasure, The Wheel of Fortune. Now, John Leslie was accused of rape by multiple women. He was arrested several times over the years for offences against different women and even faced trial twice. Now, he was never convicted, but it's no surprise that, of course, he'll never present fancy primetime TV shows again. Now, he actually won his cases, But the criminal law isn't there to protect fame and reputations. It's actually there to decide whether somebody is punished and judged for crimes or not. And there are other examples of people who were never actually convicted of offences, who nevertheless are judged by history, or at least many people, to be guilty, sometimes of really quite terrible crimes. Michael Jackson faced a criminal trial only once and was found not guilty. But a number of civil settlements later, we find out after his death, and his reputation will never really fully recover from evidence and allegations that have been made since, even in the last couple of years. Even Richard III had his nephews murdered in the Tower of London so he could remain king. Everyone at the time knew he'd done it. There was no trial. History judges him to be their killer and murderer. But being responsible people, we should probably be wary of calling people guilty of crimes unless we're really convinced of the evidence. Ideally, when there's been some type of process to decide that, or at least they've been given the chance. For Noel Clarke, so far there hasn't been, and there may not be. That counts in favour of a person generally who claims their innocence, but this time of kind of very overdue affirmation and reclaiming of women's rights against violence, and the confidence of The Guardian saying it's got 20 people whose stories stack up and the Guardian's prepared to risk being sued in publishing the story. Well, if Noel Clarke doesn't go ahead and sue the newspaper in the civil courts for libel, he and his reputation will stand zero chance of making a comeback. For now, he is defamed in the media alone. And as a result, we actually know little for certain. What the media has begun, only the courts with finality can end. Now, this was the Lawcracker. What do you think? Does justice have to happen in an organised way before a person is destroyed in society? Or is this a rightful reaction to the patriarchy and the power of men and the movie industry and all of that stuff? Keep your comments careful. Lawcracker will delete anything that's pointed out to me as being potentially libelous, especially if it's saying that you don't like Lawcracker, because Lawcracker's awesome. Please do like, subscribe, comment. I'm gonna keep doing these videos as long as the internet will have me, which, given some of the crap that's available on the internet, is likely to be a very long time. Peace out.